Let's just start with news of the day, because we're taping this on Monday. This is going to air on Tuesday. And in the Oval Office, President Trump, who's meeting with Zelenskyy, was just asked about what kind of commitments are we ready to make with respect to our troops in keeping any possible peace in Ukraine, because his emissary, Steve Witkoff, his envoy, had said that the security deals are basically being negotiated, which sounds like us. And here's what he said.
Your team has talked about security guarantees. Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today. We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved.
Okay. Your thoughts on what, if any, presence we should be having over in Ukraine?
Right now, taping on Monday, so we're just taking what the president just spoke of in the Oval Office. I think he's talking about potential Article 5 security.
That's what Witkoff mentioned.
Agreement.
The NATO agreement, which they're not a party to NATO.
Right, which I'm against. Look, I campaigned all over the country for President Trump, not just in 2024, but literally for years. And I can tell you right now, the American people are very much against foreign wars, funding foreign wars, sending American troops into foreign countries to protect their borders, their interests, their people. They are appalled that we've spent $200 billion or more in Ukraine thus far since 2022. And I don't think the American people will be happy about sending American troops with an Article 5 security agreement and promise to Ukraine. I don't think that's what the American people want. I think they want completely out of it, because most Americans are looking at their daily lives. They're looking at their bills, their rent payments. Young people today can't buy a house. They're looking at health insurance, which is a complete scam and a ripoff. And they're going, okay, how much more is this going to cost me? So that's my first reaction.
Well, let's talk about what a guarantee would look like. I mean, if we're guaranteeing, the security of Ukraine, so that if there's another Putin invasion down the line, we're required to fight it like it's our war?
Yes, essentially. So Article 5 with NATO means that any NATO country that is attacked, that means the other countries are bound in that agreement to respond with defense. And I think it can vary depending on how the country reacts and what the defense aid they give to these other countries. But it seems it doesn't make sense to say Ukraine can never join NATO, but yet here we are, the United States, most powerful country in the world. We are going to give you Article 5, a guarantee security agreement.
Like a side deal.
And why do they deserve it, is my question. Why does Ukraine...
Whether they do or they don't, I don't want to give it.
Exactly.
That's my position. I don't care.
Either.
It's my child. No.
Megyn, I fully agree with you, and I think most Americans agree with you. I was one of the only members of Congress that voted no from the beginning to fund the Ukraine war, and I took a very strong position, and literally I was on my own out of,
How'd you see that?
I just saw it so my dad was a combat war veteran in Vietnam, and just growing up with a father that had been drafted and parents that had lived through the Vietnam War, that whole generation, which we love them so much, and knowing so many, of family members and friends that served in everything from Desert Storm to Iraq and Afghanistan and all these Middle Eastern wars. And as a member of Congress, constantly hearing from veterans that have so many broken issues, whether it's physical or mental with PTSD, and can't get their needs met at the VA, and then knowing that their suicide numbers are still 22 a day. I mean, it's just common sense. It's like, we can't do this anymore. And we're broke. America's broke. We're $37 trillion in debt. And at some point, we have to start saying no to the rest of the world and just completely say, no, we can't. We've got to focus here, or we're going to implode one day.
Mm-hmm. The Republican Party has turned on that war and supporting it, but they weren't against it in the beginning. Mm-hmm. The numbers have fallen. So it's to your credit that you saw that trouble coming right from the get-go. And it's not that, I have sympathy, of course, for the Ukrainian people. I mean, what's happened is terrible. They've had terrible leaders.
Yeah.
And Vladimir Putin is not a good man. Nobody's going to dispute that. But not everything can be our problem. And the problem is we had Democrats who were messing with Ukraine and kind of trying to make it our problem for a number of years, which I think led us to feeling some obligation, understandably. But at this point, you've got these two stubborn leaders. I don't know what's going to happen today. I don't have high hopes that Trump's going to get something done today.
Yeah.
It's going to have to stop at some point because both sides are losing, how many thousands by the week. So how do you see this ending?
I'm not sure. I do want to say I put a lot of faith and hope in the president because we all win if he's successful in ending it. However, what does America have to continue to commit to these countries in order to end their wars that we had nothing to do with? Even the Ukraine-Russia war really started in 2014 under Barack Obama. Everybody thinks it started in 2022. It didn't. It started way back then. And then we can look at the war with Israel and Gaza or Israel and Iran or whoever in the Middle East. We haven't started those wars either. And then we can say, well, what wars do we pick to get involved in? What about the ones in Africa where Christians are slaughtered all the time? It's like you said, at what point do we say, guys, enough?
Not our problem. It's like 9/11. Yeah, that was our problem.
1,000%.
That was easy to see. But all of a sudden, we could be extended all over the world at any given time with millions of American troops if we really wanted to be.
Yep.
So we have to make serious decisions. And we'll round back to Israel. So what do we think the effect of the sparring between President Donald Trump and the Fed is going to be? Can the Fed take the right action at the right time? Do we trust in that? Or are we going to be looking at a potential economic slowdown as they slow roll any of their moves as they worry about his tariffs? And what exactly does all of this mean for your savings? You might want to consider diversifying right about now with gold through Birch Gold Group. For decades, gold has been viewed as a safe haven in times of economic stagnation, global uncertainty, and high inflation. And Birch Gold makes it incredibly easy for you to diversify some of your savings into gold. If you have an IRA or old 401k, you can convert that into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold to keep it in your safe. First, get educated. Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. Just text MK to the number 989898. Again, text MK to 989898, and you'll start the process of just getting the 411 on what it means to own gold. Consider diversifying a portion of your savings into gold. So if the Fed cannot stay ahead of the curve for the country, at least you can stay ahead of the curve for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.